Hi everyone, hope everyone is well. Welcome back to the final whistle. This is our second stream tonight as we preview Leicester City versus Aston Villa. The return of former Fox Yuri Tielemans since his free transfer to the Villains. We're going to chat with Neil from For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast and Aston Villa podcast. We're going to get to go to know Neil regarding his podcast and his support and love for Aston Villa, and get Neil's thoughts on the game ahead of the weekend. East Midlands versus West Midlands, and it's going to be a real crunching game between the two, and it's one that I look forward to, and a tough game for sure with Aston Villa, the Champions League side now. So we're gonna chat with Neil about last season as well. Ross, how are you? Hope you're good. Guten Tag. Hello, Ray, how are you, mate? I'm torn on Tielemans, scored some big goals for us, but that relegation season. Rich, how are you, mate? Hope you're good. Looking forward to this. Sorry, mate, it's 3-1 Villa. It is what it is. Hi, Jack, how are you? I'm all right, thank you. I'm very good. Guys, as always, get involved in the show. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed to the channel. Please get down and do so. Also, before I start, go and check out the transfer deadline with Rob Tanner. We did this tonight, so go and check that out. Go and hear what Rob Tanner had to say about Odsonne Edouard and all things Leicester on deadline day. And let's get Neil in from the For Love of Paul McGrath podcast. Neil, how are you, mate?
Very good. Great to be on. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Very good. Welcome to the channel, Neil. Let me know your socials and that, Neil, and what you do at the Paul McGrath podcast, mate.
Yeah. So the great thing about having a podcast with Paul McGrath's name in it is we're the only one, so you can't miss us anywhere. Just write Paul McGrath podcast in there and you'll find us. But at Love McGrath is where you find us on Twitter, and we do a lot of our stuff, most of our stuff there, and most of our stuff on YouTube as well. But yeah, it's an interesting name, and a lot of people ask where the name came from, and essentially I've started following Aston Villa because of Paul McGrath. My accent is a dead giveaway. I'm Irish, and so is Paul McGrath. And it was a match made in heaven, I think, really, because I know every other team has their eyes on one of their heroes of old, being probably the best defender in the world, but the best defender to ever lace him up. But some of the things Paul McGrath did while under the influence definitely makes him the best defender of all time. So in my view, and I've been lucky enough to interview him live as well, and things like that. And he's a lovely man. So who better to name a podcast after than the man that Aston Villa fans call God. So
fantastic. Welcome to the match preview, Neil. We're going to chat about Leicester versus Villa shortly. I'm going to ask you one thing, what Richard's asked me to ask you about the Villa transfer window. Obviously, Villa have had sort of a bit of a predicament, haven't they, where they can't sign players for whatever reason it is. Last season, you made Champions League, which is congratulations to you on that. Talk to me about last season, and talk to me about this season's transfer window.
Yeah, last season was just fairy tale stuff. It was whirlwind stuff for Aston Villa because, you start off a season and you ship 5 goals against Newcastle, and your captain, who everybody would have had down at the time as Villa's most solid defender. I know a lot of other fans of other teams think Mings has a rake in him the whole time, but he's been really, really solid for Aston Villa, and he goes down and out for the year, the captain of the club, and you're kind of thinking, crap, with Europe here as well, but having the Europa League, this might get ugly this year. But Unai Emery is just an absolute genius. Unai Emery transcends this team, and he transcends the hurdles this team has to overcome, and he coached some absolutely brilliant games last year. The Man City win, the two Arsenal wins, and even just picking the team up off the floor when they were down to the bare bones to in and around January, February time. Had lost Boubacar Kamara as well. We were really struggling to put out to have 13, 14, 15 senior players in our squad at one stage last season, but he kept on churning out the results because he's just a superb manager. And yeah, it's that's how this season has gone. So I suppose really when Richard was asking there about our transfer window, I think it's a transfer window of two halves. Really, we came out
Mm,
of the blocks and we had to get our business done early because of the dreaded PSR. I know you guys are still question marks over whether you guys are going to get a deduction, which I think is a bit nonsense. But look, it is what it is. Specifically when you see some other clubs within the league, but Villa had to come out and had to be really creative. Um, like the everybody would have seen about the Douglas Luiz sale. We had to sell him for undervalue and take two players back in return. But we had to get him out the door to comply with PSR. Obviously, then we needed to sign a player. Ian Matson was available, but to sign Ian Matson, we had to sell one of our best young players, probably one of the best unheard of players. I would go so far as to say in England. Omari Kellyman. A lot of people, and people might think I'm hyperbolic about that, but go and 20 million was an eye opener for a lot of people who would never have heard of that player. But he played for Villa. I think it might have even been 10 times last year. He played in Europa League, and I've watched him for the last couple of years. We signed him from Derby, and the guy's just got serious talent. Played for Chelsea's under-21s. Was it last night or the night before? He had 2 goals scored in the first 25 minutes and then got sent off in the 42nd minute. So guys got bundles of talent, but we needed to sell those guys,
yeah.
to get PSR. And then you got to replace them. You got to replace players in the team. So Matson comes in, brilliant, best left back in the Champions League as voted by the Champions League last year. You can't turn that one down when it's given to you. And then Amadou Onana, there's a lot of money, and he's come in there, and Villa needed heft in midfield. The difference between last year and even this year, even in the Arsenal game, was we get absolutely bullied, or we did get bullied by teams in midfield. We were very good with the ball in midfield. That we could play around the teams in triangles. Douglas Luiz was super at that, but Luiz and Onana are diametrically opposed in the fact that Onana just takes up so much space because he's 6'6" and he's built like the Hulk, So I think a really good signing and somebody that we're going to go to love at Villa. And then a lot of the other signings we made were obviously with the view to 5-6 years time. Barrenechea was signed. Really nice player. He's gone out on loan to Valencia. Iling Jr. was signed as well. He's gone out on loan to Bologna. Going to be playing Champions League football this year. Who else? Lewis Dobbin was signed. He's gone out on loan to West Brom. So we've made some signings. A lot of them are with a view to next year, and the two guys that have come in to supplement the team. Ross Barkley as well, I suppose, has been signed. A nice little foil to come in off the bench for 20 minutes and can obviously come in and play as all the experience in the world with Champions League and so on. So my transfer window it was really promising at the start.
Yeah.
We're here now at 8 o'clock on the end of transfer deadline day, and we need a right back, and we don't have one, and we have no fit centre halves. We've got no fit backup centre halves in our squad at the moment, and we're going to have to go into the season like that because of PSR. So it's to be written. We're really hoping Tyrone Mings comes back, and we're hoping that Sils Finkel's one of the young kids who's a big, strong guy. He's 20 years of age. We're hoping that he makes the step up from the junior grades and makes a senior player of himself. And I don't think it's fair that we should be able to go, or that we should have to go into a Champions League season with England not protecting their coefficient and stuff like that. I know Man will go far, Liverpool will go far, Arsenal will go far, but why shouldn't Villa have the opportunity to go far as well? And we may still go far because we've had a nice draw, but for us to be relying on Lamar Bogart and Sils Finkels as our two backup centre halves at the moment, and both of them only 20 years of age, I don't know. And an 18-year-old right back, I don't know if that's the best use of PSR. I went very rambly there, Jack. I'm so sorry. I spoke forever there. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I could ramble on about VAR PSR with Leicester.
Yeah.
But no, we could have got into this sort of after the transfer window without striking options, really.
Mm.
I believe we're now looking to get a deal done for Odsonne Edouard, which is very late in the window with Leicester.
Yeah.
A much needed striker needed. Obviously, with Jamie Vardy, 37 years old, Daka injured, Tom Cannon going out on loan to Stoke. So yeah, Leicester needs striking options. I think Leicester's had a fairly good window, to be honest.
I think so too.
We brought El Kanous in from Genk, highly rated youngster at the age of 20 years old.
Yeah.
Um,
Fine player.
and yeah, we've brought in the likes of Deco Dover-Reed and Oliver Skip, another midfielder. So I think we've done some fair good business. I think we've had to strengthen a lot this window. To be fair, with the Premier League, I think it's been. Some say with you're looking at Sheffield United last season and Luton and that, they say it's a massive step up. You've got to really have that squad to compete. And I think that's something where Leicester's had to go with. I think we've spent about £80 million in transfers, bringing in 8 players so far. Edward's going to be the 9th one, which is looking to be a loan deal. So yeah, he's having his medical as we speak. So talk to me about your expectations for this season. I mean, what are Aston Villa's expectations? Is it top 6? Would you be happy with that, or do you think you could really push on again? How do you feel about Aston
It's,
Villa's season this season?
this is Yeah, so this is a tough one because I was asked this on so I've done a couple of Leicester podcasts this week, and I was asked this with Locks and the Blue Tinted Glasses podcast, and I think I said because Unai Emery just comes out and says the league is our priority. It's great that
Yeah.
we're in the Champions League. The league is our priority. Champions League is for us to sell the club. But I think after the draw we got yesterday. That Unai would be silly not to go, there's money to be made here in the Champions League. Now, if that meant for me getting to the semi-finals of the Champions League, which would be absolutely flipping brilliant. And yes, I will be in Villa Park for Celtic Villa, even if I have to wade my way through dead bodies to get there. I don't care. I will be there. Being an Irishman, I think that would be an absolutely fantastic occasion for me personally to be there. But for Villa to get to a semi-final of the Champions League and finish like 9th,
yeah,
I don't know how I'd feel about that. But if Villa got out of the group stages and finished 4th again, I'd be over the moon. So you see, my methodology or my thinking is, and I think I'm aligned with Unai Emery with this one, is that Emery knows that you need to get into the Champions League multiple times in a row. You need to do it 2-3 years in a row to really become rich from it, because of the way PSR is built at the moment. And then like you guys will know, you guys were very unlucky. Obviously, you won the league, you got into the Champions League, but then Rodgers brings you to 5th a couple of years, and that's Europa League football, and you still had the money issues afterwards. So the difference between the Champions League and the Europa League is stark. And so I think to answer your question, I'd be happy to get out of the group that we're in now and then finish 4th would be absolutely an amazing season for me. But even if we didn't get out of the group and finish 4th, I think I'd still be jumping with joy because the long-term future of the club will be better looked after in that aspect, I think.
Yeah, I think South Villa will want to prove themselves in the Champions League as well. The elite sides that are in it and that. They want to prove themselves against them and get as far as in the competition as they can. I remember when Leicester were in the Champions League, we got so far, playing the likes of Atletico Madrid and that, Sevilla, some great away days and that. And I thought we did really well. We come unlucky against Atletico Madrid in the end, in the last 8. So yeah, it's one that we over the last few years, like you said, the Brendan Rodgers one where we were top 4 for so long, and then the last game of the season in 2 seasons in a row. You end up missing out somehow, and then you think to yourself as a fan, with the whole PSR situation, you've got to be in Europe time after time after time. You've
Mm.
got to be there 'cause it
Mhm.
brings in the money, and if you're not in Europe, it's kind of a struggle with the financial situation. I think with Villa, they've got to be there consistently, and I think that's what it is. But regarding the whole table with Leicester, I'd snap your hand off for 17th now, to be honest, because I think that's the main key for aspect for Leicester is 17th. You also qualify for next season's Champions
I
League by winning
I
it.
would definitely take finishing 17th and qualifying and winning the Champions League. I would. Hey, if you offer me that in the morning, I'd close down the podcast and I'd see you at the end of May for the celebrations. Absolutely.
Talk to me about one man. Obviously, you guys
Yeah.
signed him on a free transfer. Yuri Tielemans. I mean, how has he got on at Villa? What's your thoughts of him? And how do you rate him as a player?
Yeah, I'm actually really quietly surprised an awful lot by Yuri Tielemans because he's a player that look, anybody who's played Football Manager in the last 10 years will have come across Yuri Tielemans as an 18-year-old playing in Belgium, and then obviously he moves on to Monaco, and then he moves on to Leicester, and so on. So it's always sparked my interest whenever I've got a chance to see him play, even before I moved to Leicester. And I loved him at Leicester. I think, obviously he scored some really important goals for you guys. He was a darling of the Premier League for 1 or 2 years. He's a really skillful player. And whatever happened, I suppose, in the year that you guys went down, I don't know, was it injury related? Was it contractual? It must have been contractual related. The fact he didn't sign, maybe he took the huff with that, or I don't know what the story is, but he wasn't as good that year. But the year before, people were talking about him going to Arsenal for like 40 million. So for me, I can understand that. I was surprised we signed him on a free. I will be honest. I was surprised he came to Aston Villa at that time on a free. Because I didn't see the exactly, Richard. I agree, and that's exactly what I'm going to get to in a moment. But I didn't see where he fit in. Himself and Douglas Luiz, I thought, would be too similar. Didn't think he had it to play as a 6, which I've been completely proven wrong on. And I thought he'd have to play as a 10. And if you play him as a 10, then where does John McGinn go in? And John McGinn was club captain. So I just didn't see a place for him. But as the year went on, and I mentioned we had injuries, and Tielemans was asked to play as a 10, and he played really well for us in a lot of European games up alongside Ollie Watkins. And his pressing really impressed me, something that you'd seen him do it, but you hadn't seen him do it for a while. And now he's moved back and he's playing that number 6 position with Onana. He brings a different skill set than Douglas Luiz. Luiz was really busy on the ball. He was great at playing triangles, great at playing 1-2s in midfield and breaking a press that way when he could. He was obviously very good from dead ball situations as well. And when he left, there was a bit of a hole that was left in the team. And Tielemans has come in, and himself and Onana, obviously playing together for Belgium, they know each other really well. And what we're seeing from Tielemans in preseason and in the games that we've played already against Arsenal and West Ham, there is no one that I've seen at Aston Villa in quite a long time, actually probably ever, probably since Gareth Barry, maybe, or maybe James Milner, like whatever, 11, 12 years ago, that can tread a true pass like Yuri Tielemans can. He's a really good passer of the ball when he's given space, and he's a really good long passer and intermediate level passer as well. So Villa haven't really had that, and they need it for the likes of Morgan Rogers and Dion Bailey to be able to get onto balls, and Ollie Watkins. So to sum up, I suppose how I feel about him is slow start, as Richard mentioned there as well. Took him a long time to acclimatise. In Emery's system, you don't always follow the ball. But you need to be very disciplined in where you stay. And he used to always overrun positions and things like. And it was noticeable in the field. Now he doesn't, and he's actually like every Villa fan will say the same. You're kind of going, if Tielemans was out in the morning, I'd be really worried because he's becoming a more pivotal player, and he's probably his integration into the team is probably one of the reasons why the club was so comfortable in selling Douglas Luiz and getting the money that they did.
Yeah, Tielemans. I mean, we brought him for £40 million. what a player he was for Leicester, to be fair. The FA Cup goal, that banger against Chelsea to win us the FA Cup, be forever grateful for that for Youri, Not blessed with pace, is he, but he can pick a pass out of nothing, he can shoot,
That's the funny
score
thing.
some
That's that.
quality goals.
And that's exactly it. Like remember when I said that I was impressed with his pressing, his high pressing when he
Mm,
played up beside Watkins. I was going, this guy can move 5 yards either way, and he's really impressive there. But he's got no long speed, is what it seems to be for me. So he's able to move. Um, like he doesn't have issues moving multi-directional in short bursts. But God, when he after the first 5 yards, he just doesn't build up any more pace at all, and he's the same pace the whole way. So I think that Unai is using him well in that instance by dropping him back into a more rigid six position that we're playing him in at the moment. So it masks his lack of pace, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's I think with Youri, you just got to save his running, aren't you? If you can keep him in that six role and not really do much
Yeah.
running with him, he can keep him for as long as possible in the game. But it's like that year when Arsenal came calling for him, Leicester wanted to keep him, and then he had a year left on his contract. And we're
That's
thinking,
it.
okay,
Yeah.
then could we sell him for £40 million here? Could we actually go and get money for him? Which we could have. We probably should have at the time. But then the club, kept him, and then the squad just fell apart that season when we got relegated. And it's like some of the players, the whole squad, were to blame for that relegation, including Brendan Rodgers. A lot of factors, and Tielemans weren't the same player in the last season. He did score at that banger against Everton at
Mm.
Goodison Park, but then the second half of the season, things just weren't right. But then he ended up leaving for a free, which you guys got him for, and he's a player. If you can get the best out of him, and he's a phenomenal player. I think he will get a good reception from the Leicester fans, because
Mm.
Leicester fans are forever grateful for his FA Cup goal and that, and in his time at Leicester, despite that relegation. But yeah, an all-round good play. But
I
talk to
think I think
me.
it was a fair
What
trade with somebody that you guys have had that's retired this week, Mark Albrighton.
Mark O'Brien,
You guys
yes,
got
Villa,
him on
Villa
a
as well.
free, and yeah, you and like he is like he sits in the whole end now, like so he is a Villa boy, and even I watched an interview that he did during the week, and he said that at that time when Leicester came calling, if Villa had offered him £20 to play, he would have signed for Villa. Now everyone says that when it's their boyhood team, but he obviously went down, won a league with you guys, and was I always loved him as a player, and I'm sure he went down
Mm.
in Leicester folklore for that year that he had when you guys won the league.
Yeah, 10 incredible years,
Yeah.
to bring him on for what we signed him on a free from Aston Villa, an
Mhm.
absolute bargain, a legend. Gave 100% for the club, every game. Wore his heart on his sleeve, a real fans' favourite with the Foxes fans, a part of that great escape season in 14-15. Won the Premier League the year after, scored in the Champions League, the first ever Champions League goal for Leicester
Yeah.
City. The one against Sevilla as well to knock them out the Champions League. Mark Albrighton in the second leg.
Mhm.
Won the FA Cup, Community Shield, and yeah, an all round great bloke, and yeah, go down in forever legend. And once a Fox,
Yeah.
always a Fox. And what a career!
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's
I bet
great
you
guy. Someone
guys
I'd
are
love to
quite
interview.
mad you got rid of him.
100%, 100%, because like there's a direct correlation with Mark Albrighton leaving the club and Villa going really down into the doldrums. So yeah, it's always nice to have somebody you've brought through the academy that's a fan of the club, stay with your club, and yeah, he scored a 25,000
Premier League
Premier
goal.
League goal too.
There's a
Yeah,
start for anyone
so
who didn't know.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah, an all-round great player, great bloke, and yeah, did well at Villa, did well at Leicester. And yeah, 10 years at Leicester, and yeah, some real great memories for him. And
Mm.
like I say, won the championship at Leicester to top it off and get us back to the Premier League. So finished on a high, and yeah, I do wish him all the best in his retirement, Mark O'Brien, and yeah, met
Yep.
him on a few occasions. But let's talk about both of Mark O'Brien's beloved sides. Obviously, he supports Villa, played for Leicester. Leicester v Villa. The East Midlanders take on the West Midlanders on Saturday. And talk to me what your thoughts are ahead of this game. I mean, we'll go through team selection and that later on, but what's your initial thoughts about this one, and how do you think you started the season?
Yeah, so we've started the season obviously pretty well. I think even in a loss against Arsenal, which is a nice test to have. I think
Mm,
albeit that we didn't have the possession we wanted, I think we were dictating a lot of where the game was going to be played against Arsenal up until the 68th minute, and we make a couple of substitutions. Trossard obviously comes on, and then we make a mistake in our box, and Trossard is one of the best substitutes in the world to be able to bring in. So and he comes in and he sticks it in the back of the net. And then it was very difficult for Villa. We obviously had chances. Watkins missed two, one gilt edge chance, and another one that I will go to my grave saying that it was a great save from Rea. I know a
yeah,
lot of
would have
Villa
saved
fans
the
think he
second
should have
one.
stuck it. Yeah, a lot of Villa fans say he should have stuck it, but diving headers are incredibly difficult. And if you go to
Yeah.
pinpoint that one, you put it 10 yards wide. So the long and the short of our start of our season is I think you have to be kind of happy with it. I think a lot of Villa fans are more disappointed in the fact that we're probably one or two players short. And even
Mm,
this weekend, when we come to it, when we come to talking about team selection, you know, that our back four is it. We don't have we'll have probably either Luca Dean or Ian Matson on the bench, and we might not have another defender on the bench, and that's scary. So that is a scary proposition because of the injuries that we have at the moment in defence. But overall, we've coped well.
fantastic. Leicester, I mean, yeah, 1 point so far this season. I mean, got the points against Spurs. I thought we had an incredible second half against Tottenham. Jamie Vardy scoring again. Obviously, loves a goal against
Mhm.
Aston Villa, does Jamie Vardy. You
Does
know,
yeah.
he's to never stop scoring, even when you write him off. Yeah, I think this one, it's going to be kind of like it's a difficult game, innit? It's a real testing game, a real challenging game. Villa Champions League last season. After getting there, and yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a tough game. This one, it's one that Leicester have really got to go and be at the best, and really got to take the chances when it matters. They've got to win them duels, them battles, and Leicester have got to really hold their own against a good Villa side under Unai Emery. Unai Emery's got a Villa side playing the way he wants them to now. He's really had an influence on that squad since he's been there, and I think everything's clicked for Villa. And
Mm.
yeah, it's a real tough one for Leicester, but being at home and getting the crowd behind us, I think I'd fancy us more at home than I would probably, if they said Villa Park was going to be the first one first. But yeah, it's one that I think we'll kind of do well in the games. With I think we'll put in a real effort, a real shift against you, and like I say, it's about winning them duels, them midfield battles. Winks v Tielemans, and Jamie Vardy will look to like get in between your defenders as well. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting game to be fair. But what's your thoughts on the opposition of Leicester?
Yeah, like you mentioned there, I like Steve Cooper more than a lot of people do.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of I actually hold him in pretty high regard. Put
Mm,
put it this way, if there's fewer people that I would want to head up Aston Villa's academy than Steve Cooper. I think, like, what I mean by as an actual coach, to be able to come in and coach to a style. Like he had great times at Liverpool, coached some of the best, like some really, really good young
mm,
players at Liverpool. He's gotten on to the senior level, and he's done it as well. He did it at, was it Swansea, and then on to Forest, and now at you guys. I've got really good time for him. He causes us issues. So I saw Villa Forest in 2022. Was it? I think it was 2022. Yeah, it was. I was over at the game at Villa Park, and I saw him. Villa won against Forest, but the way the Forest set up, you know, they were only ever a break of a high line away from scoring. And they caught
mm.
us last year when we played them. They beat us last year with that same tactic. And I'm going to say it that with the likes of Fatu and oh Jesus, his name escapes now. Even Jordan Ayew, I
Vavadida.
suppose yeah, Mavadidi, they will play at probably at the weekend. They're going to
Mm,
stay wide, and if Villa give Leicester enough of the ball, they will get opportunities. And I really like Fatu, or however you pronounce it. I really like
Yeah,
him.
that's what.
Super
Yeah,
player.
go on.
Really, really nice player. And that guy that you brought in as well, that 20-year-old you brought in as well, like that is your James Madison replacement right there.
Yeah.
He's a super talent. That was a coup. That's a coup for any team. Never mind Leicester. At 20 million is a good bargain to get him in for. I don't think he'll play at the weekend, but where I do think Villa will get joy is, and I know you guys might shoot me for this, but like I think Vestergaard and Face. Am I right in saying that Vote Face wanted out and then decided he didn't want out of Leicester? And you just kind of have to, I suppose, wonder about that back partnership, if that is going to be the partnership at the weekend. I
Mm.
think that's probably made for the likes of Rodgers and Bailey cutting in either
Yeah,
side.
pacing beyond.
Yeah, the pacing behind, and Ollie Watkins has learned one of the greatest
Mm.
things that Ollie Watkins has learned the last years is how to occupy the two centre halves. So
Yeah.
that's the interesting battle for me. Midfield is going to be a slog for both teams. Both teams
Yeah.
are going to. It could be one of these games where where the ball is completely and utterly played between the two boxes, and it gets bogged down in midfield because Cooper likes that. He likes to stop teams from playing quick through the middle, and if Leicester can do that, Villa will need something to break down that line, and we're not very good at doing that. We're not good at breaking low block, or we're not good at playing directly through the middle at times. And if we have to go wide, we will. Everything, it's fine. But if that is the case, then Morgan Rogers is going to be the danger man, and he is a man possessed at the moment. He's a man transformed and really exciting player, and I'm looking forward to seeing him at the weekend.
Yeah, I think with Leicester, if you look at his last game against Fulham, we lacked in creativity.
Yeah,
We lacked in the final third. We made two defensive errors against Fulham. We can't afford to do that this game. We've got to be switched on at all times. I think it's, to be fair, we've brought in Bilal Kanous from Genk. A guy who
that's
will
him.
play
Yeah.
against Aston Villa. Um, he's got the ability, he's got that real attacking threat about him. He's a very good player, very technical, very direct as well, and a guy who can create quite a bit, I mean, we had James Maddison, but then he left, and then Kenneth Dewsbury filled in for James Maddison, and last season in Championship, we lost Dewsbury this summer to Chelsea. And then we obviously brought in El Kanouche, and highly rated player. He's spoke about quite highly, but like I say, you only judge a book by its cover when you've read the book. So we'll have to wait and see to see if he can really adapt to the Premier League quite quickly. He's very young. Some say he's like a Duracell battery. He's non-stop. He can really never gives up. He's a real good runner of the ball, and his energy is fantastic. From when I spoke to a bloke from Genk yesterday, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think if we can attack the game well, then we can have a few chances against you. But it's putting them chances away, and Martinez is one of them keepers who's not really easily beat as he does. So
Yeah.
but
He's
go on.
he's definitely our talisman. And Emi Martinez,
Mm.
he likes to stick it onto opposing fans and opposing teams, and he's a bit of a shithouse, if you excuse the phrase, but he is. But he's ours, and just like probably the best 18 million the club has spent in a long time. And that's one of the things about getting Champions League football. We keep the likes of him there, and he's just a fine goalkeeper. The easiest way to describe him.
Yeah, we've got one shit house and you've got the other. I guess
Yeah.
that's a fair assessment. But touching on
They will
Jordan
clash at
Ayew, I mean,
corners. There will be an Emi Martinez, Jamie Vardy clash at a corner. You can absolutely bookmark that right now and take it down to the bookies right now that they will have words at some stage.
talk to me about Jordan Ayew. I mean, he once played for Aston Villa. What was he like as a player at Villa? Obviously, we do get the impression at Leicester that he is a workhorse. He's very good off the ball. He likes to win quite a lot of free kicks. He's not your striker, Bree. He can sort of run into them areas. But talk to me about Jordan Ayew, his time at Villa.
Yeah, he was in probably one of the worst Aston Villa teams I've ever seen. And
Mm,
that's probably what sullies my view of him. He was very moany. He was very emotional on the field. Won lots of frees, gave away lots of frees. Scored a couple of goals for us. All right, never reached his potential with Villa.
mm,
Um, but I feel sorry for him because he had some absolutely turgid managers, and Villa were going nowhere. Villa were circling the drain at that stage, and he was just unlucky that he was one of the guys that kind of came in at that absolute horror time for Villa, and we he was probably the best of them that was there. But at the same time, you could see he absolutely he wanted to be somewhere else because the club was run like a shambles at the time. So
mm,
I think it's I think he's yeah, it'd be unfair for me to have an actual formed opinion on his time at Aston Villa because of the fact that everything around him was burning, and he came there in good faith, and maybe the club didn't give him that faith back, So a lot of players that were brought in around that time, Jordan Amavi, Jordan Vera too, yeah, they were promising young players. So was Jordan Ayew. They were all Jordans, the three Jordans, but
mm.
um, Villa didn't do them any services, and they all never performed at Villa, and they were all sold for pennies on the dollar afterwards, and went on to have better careers other places. So, um, fair play to him, for being able to pick himself up and stay in the Premier League, because a lot of players would have taken the emergency parachute back to France, and he didn't.
Mm.
And he stayed in the Premier League, and he's here 10 years now. And fair play to him. He's been a Crystal Palace cult hero, and he's now at Leicester, and I think he's a perfect foil for the likes of Jamie Vardy, because I would hate to be a centre half and have both of those chasing you for 60 minutes, because the two of them are just nuisances. Like, they're just annoyingly good at pressing. So, and they'll win frees, and they'll get in your face, and they'll annoy you, and yeah. So yeah, I think he's a good pickup for you guys. Very good pickup.
Yep. Last time we faced each other then at the KP, 2-1 Villa. I believe it was the absolute cracker from Traore, am I right? In the game. The 22-23
Yes.
season, he scored that absolute
Yeah.
belter.
Yeah.
Harvey Barnes scored once again against Aston Villa. He loves a goal against Villa, Harvey Barnes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you beat us last time round, 2-1. I think we were really struggling in that period when he did play, and it was just about when
That
are we actually
goal,
going to pick up points?
that was a horrible game of football as well, up until that goal. Villa were
It summed
like,
us up though in the end.
yeah, and it actually got us seventh place. I firmly believe. I think the game was in around March sometime, and I remember I was sitting it here. I was sitting, there's a little couch here behind me. I was sitting there, and I've got a TV up here. So if you wonder what I'm looking at here, I'm looking at breaking news on Sky Sports News. But so at the time it was yeah, I remember it, and the game was absolutely turgid, and I was like, oh my god, this is it. Villa are going to blow their chance to get into the Europa League. Next thing, all of a sudden, Troy comes up with a ridiculous goal, and you're like,
Mm,
what's going? And we actually
that
played.
was
We
our
played
own
Forest
demise.
the week. Yeah, we played Forest the week after, when I was talking about the game I was mentioning about. I'm almost certain, and Traore came off the bench and scored in that game as well. And we were like, okay, he's just decided to turn up, and that's what Bertrand Traore was like. He was calling Bertie. He just decided to turn up for 3 or 4 weeks. He'd be like, oh my god, this guy's insane. And then for 8 or 9 weeks, then he'd be like, yeah, don't feel it today. Like, he was an enigma, a real enigma of a player.
Hey up, Neil. Let's talk about team selection, mate. We'll
Yeah.
let you go first with Villa. Talk to me about what you think Unai Emery is going to go with at this one.
I can give you 10 names without a shadow of a doubt that will definitely be on the team, and it will
Okay.
not change. That would be Emi Martinez will be in goals. 18-year-old Serbian Hulk, the next Branislav Ivanovic, apparently. Kostin Jelkovic will be right back.
Okay.
Konza and Pau Torres will be two centre halves. And then
Yeah.
you're looking at, I think he probably brings in Ian Matson. I don't
Mhm.
know if that's the right decision at the moment, because Luca Dean is playing some of the best football he's played for Villa over the last 2 years. But that left back position, I think, would be Ian Matson's. If it's not now, it will be after the international break. Midfield 2 in the pivot will be Tielemans and Onana. Then you're going to have John McGinn push further forward. You're
Mhm.
going to have Morgan Rogers from the left. You're going to have Leon Bailey from the right, and you're going to have Ollie Watkins up top. And then we'll have some bullets in the chamber on the bench in the form of John Duran, another loose cannon of an enigma. You'll have him on the bench. You'll have Emi Buendia on the bench. You'll have Jacob Ramsey, one of the two left backs. And then you're looking at the likes of Lamar Bogart and Sils Finkels maybe to fill out the bench, So Ross Barkley will be in there too. But yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. The Villa lineup will be Martinez, Nedeljkovic, Konza, Pau Torres, and Matson, Onana, and Tielemans, Rodgers, Bailey, and Watkins.
I think Leicester, Hermosley goal. I think we'll stick with the same back four. Vestergaard, Fass, Christensen, James Justin. I'd like to see Ricardo at right back though. To be fair, I think we'd be better off. Harry Winks. See, would I go skip over Ndidi? I think it'd be between the two, to be honest, to go there. Fatawu, and I think he'll either go. See, he might go. He might go Ayew maybe on the left. And then
I think he'd be smart too.
And then I think. See, would I go with Buonanotte or do I go with? No, I think the new player El Canoes will be on the bench. I think Buonanotte start, and then I think he'll go with Jamie Vardy. But if Vardy doesn't start, then I think he'll go with Ayew and then Mavadidi out left, because I don't know whether he'll start Deck or Doverreed. I'm not sure about this one. It's one that it's going to be an interesting lineup for Villa, because we've got to block out areas where Villa are good at, in it. So you need them different types of players, from taking them sort of negatives out of the Fulham game and putting them positives into the Villa game. So it's stopping Villa really, in it, from attacking us as much as they want to, and then affecting the play. So we need. It might make a few changes, which I think it'd be interesting with Steve Cooper. I don't think he'll stay with the same 11 that he did against Fulham. Team score predictions then. What you going for, Neil, for this one, mate?
I've said in the podcasts I've done 2-1. Villa don't tend to keep clean sheets anymore, and Villa seem to be a team that are okay with not keeping a clean sheet. I think Ollie Watkins needs to have just for his own confidence, not anything to prove himself to me or anything like that. But Ollie Watkins scoring a goal would be nice, and like Morgan Rogers is he's just like his game against Arsenal has just shown a complete different player he's been since he signed for us in January. He's gotten better with every game, and he's due a goal, and I'm slowly but surely he's becoming my absolute darling within this team. So I think it's going to be 2-1 Aston Villa, and I'd be delighted. I'd dance my way out of Leicester if Villa were to grab a 2-1 win.
I tell you what, I fancy us to get a point.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Absolutely.
I'm gonna go. I see, against Spurs, I went for a 2-2. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go 2-2 again. I'm going to go for a Desmond. I'm going to go 2-2. I think Vardy will score in the game. I think Ollie Watkins gets one, to be fair. And then probably Tielemans will score against us. You know what it's going to be like. Former players coming to bat on the arse. And I tell you what, I'm going to go for a debut goal for Bilal El Khanous. Going to go for a goal with him. Richard's gone 3-1. But Neil, thanks for coming on, mate. Do appreciate the chat tonight. Let everybody know where they can find you, mate, before I let you go.
Yeah. So you can find me at Love McGrath Pod, as you can see here below. And you can find us on Twitter. As I say, you type in For the Love of Paul McGrath Podcast. We're the only podcast with Paul McGrath's name in it that I know of anyway. So you'll find us there. And so now I'm going to sit down in front of the TV, and I don't know what the Patriots Saint of lost causes is, but I'm going to pray to that we make a defensive signing. But it ain't looking good with an hour and 10 minutes left in the transfer window.
Yeah, cheers, Neil. All the best, mate.
No bother. Thanks a million for having me on.
That was Neil from the Paul McGrath podcast. Hope everyone enjoyed that. Guys, if you've enjoyed the stream, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you watch this on playback, get involved. Let me know your score predictions ahead of the game against Villa at the King Power Stadium. Go and check out the Premier League predictions for game week 3 is on the channel now. Go and check that out. And also go and check out Rob Tanner. I had a sit-down chat with Rob Tanner for transfer deadline day. And yeah, we'll see what Rob Tanner had to say then regarding Leicester's transfer deadline day. Odds Edward to Leicester, anyone? That could potentially happen. So we will win day long. Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. And I'll catch you very soon again. Keep it at the final whistle. And bye-bye for now. Hi all, thank you for watching The Final Whistle. If you enjoy all our content, please remember to smash a like, share and subscribe to the channel.